Over in the AFC, we have a team in the New England Patriots who most people are talking about as most likely the number one overall seed, as a surefire team that's got the inside track to hit the Super Bowl as the AFC representative. A lot of people want to talk negatively about the Oakland Raiders, and I certainly will line up on that and talk some negative things about the Oakland Raiders as well. But let's not overlook the warts of this New England Patriots team, because this Patriots team does not look like, to me at least, to be anything close to some of these teams that we've seen in the past. And keep in mind, one of the main things that we talked about when we talked about this Patriots team, a lot of people had this narrative to start the season. This was going to be Tom Brady's revenge tour. You know, deflategate, he got suspended for the first 4 games. He's going to come back with a fury. He's going to take revenge and enact revenge on all these different teams. And remember 2007 after Spygate, look at what they did there. Well, the reality is, nothing could be further from the truth. Well, Tom Brady's having a great season. He's not putting up anything close to those ridiculous metrics and statistics that he was putting up back then. But I want to talk about one of the biggest holes that this team has, and that's actually their defense. Their defense right now has faced the number one easiest schedule of opposing passing offenses so far this year. And that metric is even more pronounced when you look over here, the gap between number 1 and number 2, at the one-score success rate of opponents. And what one-score success rate is, I mentioned it up here, but basically it looks at success rates. A success rate is defined as, on every single play, is graded out as whether it was successful or not successful based upon a specific criteria. Does the play gain the number of yards required for it to be graded as successful? And that criteria varies based upon down and distance to go. And so it's basically a uniform metric that looks at that. And the reality is the Patriots have faced a ridiculously easy schedule of opposing passing offenses. So let's go ahead and look at some of these passing offenses that they faced. And we scroll up here, we could see the New England Patriots have played a number of these passing offenses which really are terrible. They actually haven't played a single top 10 passing offense, and the reason why I'll say that is because though the Pittsburgh Steelers ranked number 9, keep in mind, they played Landry Jones that week. They played Russell Wilson after he was coming off of a number of different injuries and his mobility was being questioned. The Cincinnati Bengals right now rank at 15th. The Buffalo Bills, this was before they got Brady back, rank at 16th. So there's a number of passing offenses in here. You look across the board, it's like, where are all the great quarterbacks apart from Russell Wilson, who beat them in New England? Where are all the great quarterbacks that New England has gone up against? And even more so, who are they going to play down the road? Is there anybody that's actually even going to test this team? And if you look at this, although they've played the easiest schedule to date, check out this schedule to close the season of passing offenses. And these are some bad offenses. And you can look here, and we'll go ahead and do this exercise. Let's look at the future schedule of opposing offenses that these teams are going to face, and in particular passing offenses. And you could see, yet again, they face the number one easiest schedule of passing offenses. So they will play the easiest schedule to date and the easiest schedule for the rest of the season. And overall, in terms of overall offenses that they're going up against, they'll play the easiest overall schedule of offenses that they're going up against. In particular, let's look at this page, which is just the passer rating table sorted by defense. So now we can see it's filtered by New England. Look at all these quarterbacks that they've gone up against. I filtered for those that at least attempted 5 passes. And I mean, you look at this list. Brock Osweiler, obviously we know he's pretty terrible this year. It was pretty terrible last year too, to be honest with you. Landry Jones, Charlie Whitehurst. I mean, we're talking a number of guys who aren't even the regular starters for their teams, and of course they're posting poor passer ratings down here in the below 80. Tyrod Taylor, in the span of 2 games, put up an 82 passer rating, essentially 1 touchdown, no interceptions. And then you look at the rest of these guys that have potentially struggled this year, guys that nobody's really thinking of, great quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill puts up a 96 passer rating. Colin Kaepernick, a 97 passer rating. Andy Dalton, a 103. Carson Palmer, this is Carson Palmer who struggled tremendously this year, a 105. Ryan Fitzpatrick, just this last week. A 119 passer rating, 8.7 yards per attempt, 71% completions against this defense. Cody Kessler, obviously only 8 pass attempts there, but he was playing a little bit, and then Charlie Whitehurst took the helm. Cody Kessler put up in a limited passing, a 126 rating. And then, of course, the best quarterback they faced dominated them for almost 10 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So when you talk about this team, you really do need to temper what we're saying when we're talking about how good this defense is. They faced terrible quarterbacks for the most part, guys who are either historically okay, maybe decent with bigger contracts, but are struggling this year, as well as some very poor backup caliber quarterbacks. They really have not played very many good quarterbacks. Now, what are they going to face? We already discussed they have an extremely easy schedule from here on out. So this team is obviously going to be, in most likely scenario, looking at the #1 overall seed. That's kind of where they're slotted right now. The Oakland Raiders would be their biggest test of another offense with a decent quarterback, a good passing offense, but they wouldn't have to play them until the AFC Championship game. The other teams that are currently slated right now to make the playoffs, who they potentially would face in there after their first round bye, the Patriots could face teams consisting of the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Chiefs, or the Texans. Now, we already talked about Brock Osweiler and the Texans. Garbage. The Baltimore Ravens, we also talked about Baltimore in the first video in this series. Garbage this season, passing the football. The Chiefs are an okay offense overall. They're not going to go down the field. We already saw what this team did when they went to New England, in prior years in the postseason. Not very good, not a very competitive matchup for the style of offense that Andy Reid plays. It's easy for a Bill Belichick team to coach up against them, but we've seen Bill Belichick give up yardage to guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick and Cody Kessler and Carson Palmer with offenses that weren't all that dynamic this season either. So that would remain to be seen. And then, of course, the Miami Dolphins. Adam Gase has given New England some trouble in the past. Obviously, New England week 2 dominated them, and Ryan Tannehill came back late. That was in New England. New England will close the season in Miami. But another team that could give them trouble in terms of a passing offense, in addition to the Raiders, would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. But as of right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't even slated to make the playoffs. Now their schedule is somewhat easy if we look down at the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule, and we want to look at overall total efficiency of their opponents. We can see that it's not an easy schedule. Some of these teams are a little bit more one-dimensional. The Bengals are going to be pretty beat up offensively in this game. We obviously know the Browns are pretty terrible. If they can steal this game against the Baltimore Ravens and win these last 3 games, then they have a pretty good shot. That would set them up for 9-5. But it would be nice, to ensure something if they had success this week at home, maybe against the Giants. But in either case, if the Steelers can get into the postseason, they might present more of a challenge offensively for the New England Patriots. We talk about their defense, but this offense, if you look at the schedule for New England and you look at what this team has been doing offensively, this is not the juggernaut that's been stomping on people's throats. They didn't cover against the Jets. They didn't cover, depending on the line you took, against the 49ers. They lost, obviously didn't cover against the Seattle Seahawks at home. So they really have not been playing this style where they can just run up the score, they dominate the opponent the whole time. This Jets game was extremely close that they were trailing in for some of it. This 49ers game, again, closer than the final score would indicate. And in both cases, the New England Patriots had the ball at the goal line at the end of the game and decided just to go very conservative and kneel on the football. And it's one of the things I've noticed them in the last couple of games here, and even week 4. They are not operating with the intensity and ferocity that you typically would expect from Tom Brady that we've seen in the past, where he's angry and he's defiant and he's pumping his fist and he wants people to not like him because he's so jubilant as his team is running up these 30-point victories and things of that nature. they've been scraping by in these games, and Tom Brady has been calm. They've been operating at a slow pace. There's very little emotion being exhibited out there by the Patriots offense in general. And you're wondering if maybe the offense is playing slow because the defense is so bad and they want them to rest. But in either case, the New England Patriots, I think, have a lot of work to do here in these last 5 weeks of the season to get some things in order before they take probably their first round bye. But don't be surprised if some of these teams that they face in the playoffs may have pretty good success against this Patriots defense, because this defense has been pretty bad against some very, very easy competition, the easiest in the NFL this year.